So driving in those screws will help lock it to the footing. And when you pour the concrete all the way around the post, but keep it about 2 or 3 inches below grade, meaning below the surrounding ground, because that will allow you to then fill in with gravel or bark mulch or even soil and grass if you want, although it's usually best to keep that away from the post so it dries out. And then at the top of the footing where the concrete meets the post, use a margin trowel or even just a putty knife and smooth and slope that concrete away from the post. You want it sloping away, so obviously any water hits that, it drains away from the post, not toward the post. And finally, the last one is use 2 diagonal braces to temporarily hold the post perfectly plumb until the concrete hardens. And they actually do make a really cool level. It's very affordable. It's called a post level. It's a right angle. It's usually made out of plastic and has a strap on it. And you just put it on the corner of the post. You strap it around to hold it in place, and has a bullseye level, meaning a round level, which just has a single bubble. And you just move the post back and forth until the bubble's in the middle of that bullseye. And you know that the post is perfectly plumb in both directions. So there you go. 5 quick ways to make sure that handrail post or any kind of post is installed properly and will be rock solid.
Boy, great idea. And I'll tell you, that same level is really good if you're doing some fencing, especially.
That's right.
Like a picket fence where you're lining up. Picket fences are really fairly easy to construct. And, of course, they have the fabricated panels now that makes it even easier. And, boy, you put those up and let it weather for a month or so, and then you come back with a good, because, it seems like a picket fence needs to be white. So you come back with primer and really make a big, big difference on it.
I live in New England. You don't have to tell me about white picket fences.
Oh, yeah, you know all about picket fences. And making a difference in someone's life is pretty easy when you have just a few skills. You don't have to be an expert to be able to really make a difference and really brighten someone's day. Think about someone elderly or someone that might be a little physically challenged that, really can't do a lot of the things around their home. They still think about them and they want to get it done. Could be a big source of frustration that you, by spending just a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, can make a big, big difference. Think about someone in your life that you can do that for, and do it right away. I'm Danny Lipford, along with my buddy Joe Truini. You've been listening to today's Homeowner Radio. We appreciate it and hope to hear from you and see you next week. We'll see you then.
Today's Homeowner Radio is produced each week by Today's Homeowner Media, which includes the Today's Homeowner syndicated television show, todayshomeowner.com, the Checking In with Chelsea web show and blog, Today's Homeowner podcast, social media, and more. You can reach us anytime by calling the Today's Homeowner hotline at 800-946-4420 or send us an email at todayshomeowner.com/ask. Hey, thanks for listening to Today's Homeowner Radio.
WKAL.
This is AM 1450 WKAL, Rome, New York.
It is now 1 o'clock.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Portland, Oregon has seen its 100th consecutive night of rioting. Last night, police declaring an unlawful assembly.
The demonstrations began in late May after the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Things escalated after the slaying of a Trump supporter shot and killed when he came downtown last weekend with a pro-Trump caravan. The prime suspect in the shooting, who claimed he was anti-fascist, was killed Thursday night by law enforcement. On Friday, demonstrators faced off against police officers. Ken Lorman reporting.
And it got heated during protests last night in Rochester, New York. Police deploying tear gas as violence escalated. 3 police officers suffered injuries. Almost a dozen people were arrested. There have been nightly demonstrations in Rochester recently over the police custody death of Daniel Prude. Colleges and universities scrambling to set up coronavirus quarantine zones in dorms as well as off campus.
Sacred Heart University has converted a 34-room guest house at the former Connecticut headquarters of GE to quarantine students. The University of South Carolina ran out of space at a dormitory for quarantine students and began sending them to rooms it rented in hotel-like quarters at a training center for prosecutors. The Air Force Academy sent 400 cadets to hotels to free up space on its Colorado base for quarantines. Health officials officials, such as White House Coronavirus Task Force member Dr. Deborah Birx, has been urging colleges to keep students on campus to avoid them infecting members of their family and community. I'm Shelley Antler.
Well, it's a hot holiday weekend across the Southwest, including in California. Forecasters expect new high temperature records to be set, warning people to try to stay cool if possible. More on these stories at townhall.com.
I know that on those tablets Mr. Moses brought down is the commandment to not covet. But I'll confess, my neighbor and his lawnmower is making it tough. He's got this stand-behind, ride-along space shuttle that covers probably 3 times more space than my trusty old lawn boy. So, when we have who mows the fastest races, which are completely fabricated in my head, he has some impressive advantages that I just don't have. And at our Faith and Family Mortgage team, we're blessed to have a pretty special advantage of our own, and one that could be a big deal for you. Our team is lucky to be an arm of a bigger company that is a direct lender, which means our company gets to use its own money and make its own decisions within its own walls, an advantage that often allows us to get you a better rate, saving you monthly and lifelong money on a refinance or new home purchase. We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Melville Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, Massachusetts, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
The Thai government holding off on plans to buy a couple of submarines from China.
Thailand is withdrawing its request to Parliament to include the sum for an initial payment in the fiscal year 2021 national budget. The government had sought to have $108 million included in the 2021 budget to cover the first of 7 annual installment payments. Critics had charged the purchases could not be justified, while the country carried a huge economic burden from the coronavirus crisis.
Correspondent Jeremy House. An underground gas pipeline exploded near a mosque in Bangladesh. Timing couldn't have been worse. It happened during evening prayers, leaving at least 16 Muslim worshippers dead. Police say dozens were critically hurt, suffering very serious burns. Police say it happened just outside the capital as people were finishing their prayers. A 7-year-old boy among those killed in the explosion. News and analysis, townhall.com. It's playoff time in NASCAR.
Racing returns to Darlington Sunday for the postseason opener. The infield, though, is still locked down, but up to 8,000 spectators will be allowed to attend. Darlington joins Bristol, Talladega Superspeedway, Texas Motor Speedway, and the championship finale at Phoenix as venues allowing limited spectators during the next 10 weeks. Las Vegas, Charlotte, Kansas, and Martinsville are awaiting state approval. Next week's race in Richmond will be without fans. Rhonda Rockster reporting.
Top-ranked Clemson is the preseason favorite to win the Atlantic Coast Conference for a 6th straight season. The league has released voting results for members of the media for the predicted order of finish and preseason all-conference picks. Those picks include quarterback Trevor Lawrence as the preseason pick for Player of the Year. And number 10 Notre Dame was chosen to finish in 2nd place. More on these stories at townhall.com.
I'm TJ Matthews with your official 1450 WKAL weather bug forecast for this afternoon. Breezy, sunny, high 75, west winds 5 to 10 with afternoon gusts to 25 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance of a shower with a partly cloudy low down to 52. Tomorrow, Sunday, mostly sunny, high middle 70s, light southwest winds. That's your latest official 1450 WKAL weather bug forecast. I'm TJ Matthews, 1450 WKAL, for stimulating talk radio.
If you are a small business owner, it is time to answer these questions. Is your website mobile friendly? Does it look modern and pop? Can it be found on the first page of Google? If you answer no to any of these questions, or worse, you don't have a website, it is time to call our friends at Thayer 2 Design. They'll work with you to customize a website to fit your needs and help you grow. Websites start as low as $400, and yes, you heard that right. A great looking website doesn't have to cost you thousands of dollars. Give them a call today at 315-875-7989 or visit them online at RomeNY Web Design. WKAL.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this station. Content is for educational purposes only. Consult a financial advisor or conduct your own due diligence if investing. Calls are pre-screened and the show was pre-recorded earlier this week. Rick is with Edelman Financial Engines, a part of Financial Engines Advisors, LLC, and the investment advisor that furnishes this program. Barron's ranks financial advisory firms based on assets managed, team size, experience, and regulatory record. Firms self-nominate. Investment returns and experience are not considered. Advisors in the Hall of Fame have been in the top 100 for 10 plus years. Future performance is not guaranteed.
This is the Rick Edelman Show. Barron's ranks Edelman Financial Engines the #1 independent investment advisor in the country. And Rick is in the Barron's Financial Advisor Hall of Fame. Now, here's Rick Edelman.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for hanging around here on this Labor Day weekend celebration. I hope you're enjoying the weekend holiday with yourself and your family. Last hour, we talked about some of the crazy emails that I've been receiving of late. People who are wanting to invest and, in fact, already investing, even though they are clearly demonstrating they don't know what on earth they're doing. I had a couple of other emails that I found rather interesting. Here's one. I'm just going to read you excerpts from the two emails because they kind of speak for themselves. Here's the first one. Rick, I just shut off the radio. You really believe in that liberal crap and want this bunk passed on to our kids? I thought you were smarter than that. And then I got this other email. Same week. Rick, your support of Trump is disgusting. I count on you to be better than that. So let me get this straight. I've got people who are absolutely convinced I'm a liberal and are very angry about that, and others who are absolutely convinced I'm a conservative and they're angry about that. I guess I just can't win. So whatever political views you think I have, I assure you, you're projecting onto me the political views you have, because nobody knows my politics for one simple reason. Anything I would say politically is just bound to anger half this audience. So it's better for me just to say nothing about it and stick to the subjects I do know a little bit about, and that is personal finance, economics, and the investing world. In the last hour, we talked about how the CDC has now declared as a public health issue no more evictions of residential renters through the rest of the year. And at the same time, commercial renters are being evicted because they haven't been paying their rent. Real Capital Analytics says that commercial real estate prices are falling. The indexes for office, retail, and lodging properties are all down in the month of July from a year ago because as these businesses don't pay their rent, that reduces the market value of the properties. And we ain't through all of this yet. Real Capital Analytics says, quote, the worst is yet to come. Indeed, there's a survey by Rand Rise Smart. They say half of employers that furloughed or laid off staff are considering additional cuts in the next 12 months. And it raises the question of what does all this mean for the economy? Well, let me raise the issue of transportation. First, we'll start with school buses. Privately owned school buses carry 10 million children to school. They're 40% of the school bus industry. I always thought that school buses were owned and operated by the local school systems. No, they farm out that business to private bus companies. And with so many schools closed, kids staying home, they're not paying the contracts for school buses. 40% of the bus industry is in trouble, and they are asking for $10 billion from Congress. It's not just school buses that are struggling, so are mass transit systems across the country. In New York, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, it's the nation's largest mass transit system. Yeah, we're talking the New York subways and the New York buses. They say that COVID-19 has decimated its ridership. Subway ridership is down 75%. The Metro North Railroad, which connects Connecticut to New York City, ridership is down 83%. And the New York City subway system says the federal government has to give it $12 billion so it can cover its budget shortfall. Otherwise, says the transit system, they're going to cut subway and bus service by 40%. They're going to cut commuter rail service by 50%. This means for New Yorkers and those living in New Jersey and Connecticut, longer wait times for subways, buses, and commuter trains, lane closures on bridges and tunnels, ending service entirely for parts of the Long Island Railroad, fare hikes, job cuts, and even more debt to keep the rest of the system running. The MTA is already $45 billion in debt, and they say that it's getting worse. New York City's not alone. The Metro in Washington, D.C. says they are facing severe cuts unless the system receives, you guessed it, more federal money. Metro is losing $2 million a day. It's been kept afloat so far this year with $767 million it got from the CARES Act. But that money's running out, and Metro says they're going to have to cut services, including 2/3 of the Metrobus service. 7 senators sent a letter to Amtrak saying, quote, "We're deeply concerned by the downsizing plan." Well, then fix it, guys. Give Amtrak more funding. You're the senators, for crying out loud. All told, the nation's transit agencies are asking Congress for $32 billion. And so far, Congress hasn't been able to come to agreement on what the next stimulus package should look like. Hey, speaking of transportation, a Japanese company has now successfully tested a VTOL, a vertical takeoff and landing flying car. The pilot took off and circled the field for 4 minutes, and if that doesn't sound like a lot, when the Wright brothers made their first flight, that was 12 seconds. This VTOL is the world's smallest. It fits in 2 parking spaces, has 8 motors to ensure safety. Think of a really big drone, and they plan to start selling it commercially in 3 years, no price announced. This demonstration is not unique. There are more than a dozen companies involved in creating flying cars. Uber is manufacturing Elevate. They expect it to be commercially available in 2023, a 150-mile-per-hour flying car that can travel up to 60 miles with a pilot and 4 passengers. It's actually a self-flying vehicle. The pilot is there only for emergencies. Uber expects to have 1,000 landings per hour using it as a taxi. There's also Aero Mobile Car. They call it a supercar with superpowers. It takes off from a runway like a plane, but it drives like a car. There's also the Airbus product called Vahana. It's entirely self-piloted, saving the price of the cost of pilots. In the first test, it rose 16 feet for 53 seconds, but they've had 50 test flights since then. The Kitty Hawk is a winged aircraft, 100-mile range, 180-mile-per-hour top speed. The Velocopter 2X, 18 battery-powered rotors, controlled with a single joystick. 2 passengers, 30-minute flight time, 17-mile range. They did a 2-minute flight in Singapore last year. The Workhorse Surefly, 8 propellers, can go 75 miles an hour, carrying 400 pounds of cargo, and it's easy to operate. A joystick controls direction, a throttle controls the speed. The Opener Blackfly, auto landing and automated return home functions. No need for a license. It has 8 rotors and 2 wings, 40-mile range at 72 miles an hour. The Terrafugia, retractable wings and wheels, $280,000. It's owned by Geely, a Chinese company that also owns Volvo, Lotus, Polestar, the London Taxi Company, and 10% of Mercedes. In other words, they got deep pockets and they really know what they're doing with transportation. The EHang 184 is a quadcopter, fully automated, a touchscreen interface that anybody can use. They've had 1,000 test flights, including into gale force winds, carrying 500 pounds of extra weight. The Joby Aviation Air Taxi. Toyota and Intel have invested $100 million into that one. That air taxi can seat 5 people. The Jaunt Aviation Helicopter Airplane Hybrid, a lot quieter than helicopters, with a navigation system, flight control technology, and electric propulsion system, all provided by Honeywell. Porsche and Boeing are in on the action in a joint effort to create a flying taxi. Their prototype is coming out this year. Hyundai has got a flying taxi, and they've hired a NASA veteran to lead it. Aston Martin and Rolls-Royce are each introducing their own VTOLs. The Rolls-Royce version has a 500-mile range and can go 250 miles an hour. So yeah, the future transportation situation, maybe we're not going to need those subways or buses after all. Instead, it's all going to be piloted by George Jetson.
Money doesn't come with instructions. More of your questions coming up on The Rick Edelman Show.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Saturday morning, the doorbell rings, and like many Americans, I answer it. I open the door, and there's this guy dressed in a banana suit holding a flute. Why me? I say to myself, why do these people always pick me? Then the guy hands me his card, A1 Banana Control. He says, you've got a banana problem, and I'm the answer. And I'm thinking, hey, pal, I'm the answer. You're the problem when a real live banana drops out of the light fixture and lands on its feet. 4 little feet, and hightails it right out the door. They sense my presence, this guy says to me. Then he goes piping around the living room, scaring bananas literally out of every corner, opens up the piano, tra-la-la's it right up the stairs. The next thing I know, the banana man is being escorted down the stairs on the backs of hundreds of bananas. As they stampede by, he flips me the bill and yells back, remember, A1, we are bananas. Imagine that. You just did. You saw it on the radio. If you're an advertiser, this station and the Radio Advertising Bureau have news for you. Just call the station and say, I saw it on the radio.
Never miss another RFA ball game on 1450 WKAL. If you missed a live game, go to WKAL1450.com, click on the RFA Sports tab. There you'll see the RFA Sports Schedules and Scores tab and the RFA Podcast tabs. There you can get the RFA Sports broadcast schedule, see past RFA scores, and listen to past RFA ball games. You can also listen to our broadcast live online. WKAL 1450 AM and WKAL1450.com, your home for RFA Sports.
Welcome back to the program. We are about to begin a payroll tax holiday. Yes, it officially began September 1. This is one of the executive orders that President Trump signed into effect last month. This one temporarily eliminates the Social Security tax. That's 6.2% of your paycheck is withheld for Social Security, not as of September 1. This affects you if you earn up to $4,000 every 2 weeks or less than $104,000 annually. Now, note your employer is not required to stop withholding this tax from you, so they don't have to participate. Unless, that is, you work for the federal government. All federal employees, 1.3 million of you, will start to see the Social Security tax stopped being debited from your paycheck. In other words, you're going to see an increase in your paycheck of 6.2% starting in mid-September. All other employers can continue to collect the tax from your paycheck if they wish. The executive order expires on December 31. That means on January 1st, if your employer over the next 4 months stops collecting the tax, January 1st, they're going to start to collect the tax all over again. And they're going to have to start to collect the tax that you didn't pay in September, October, November, and December. In other words, in 2021, your gross pay will again be reduced by the 6.2% Social Security tax, and it will be further reduced by another 6.2% in the first 4 months of 2021 until the government ends up getting all of the Social Security taxes that you owe. What happens if you quit in the meantime? Well, the executive order doesn't really say. And what happens if your employer continues to collect the tax? Well, that'll thwart the president's goal. His objective is to put more money into your paycheck to help you deal with the economic crisis caused by COVID. What happens if your employer collects the tax from you, but doesn't pass the money on to the government? And then what happens if your employer goes out of business? Well, we're not sure because the government's agencies haven't said. The president's executive order didn't address it. Likely, the government will turn to you for the tax, which means you could end up paying the tax twice. And how does this order help the nation's financial crisis anyway? Well, it helps some U.S. households a lot, some a little bit, and others not at all. See, here's the deal. The average U.S. worker pays more in Social Security taxes than they do in federal income taxes. Did you know that? Yeah, that's according to the Tax Policy Center. Nearly half of all U.S. households pay nothing in income tax, but 60% pay the Social Security tax. Others have an effective tax rate on their income that's actually lower than the 6.2% they pay to Social Security. So if the president's executive order is implemented as he envisions, everybody who's earning less than $104,000 a year is going to get a significant increase in take-home pay for the next 4 months. And that money is going to be of a lot of help to people who are struggling to pay their bills. But a lot of other workers don't really need that extra income to pay their expenses. They'll be able to take this newfound increase in their pay and spend it freely, or you can add it to your savings and investments, and either way, it helps the economy. If you spend the money, then you're helping businesses, and if you save the money, then you're helping the capital markets. Either way, it works. The problem, though, is that the people who are most in need are completely left out by this particular presidential order. The tax waiver only applies to those who are paying taxes, which means those who have earned income. But if you were laid off, if you were furloughed during the pandemic, you don't have any income at all right now, and that means you're not paying any Social Security taxes. So you're not getting any relief from the president's order. And oh, by the way, if people are massively going to stop paying their Social Security taxes, what does that do to the Social Security system? Well, you got to understand how it all works. The Social Security benefits that are paid out, those are funded by the Social Security taxes, along with money that's in the Social Security Trust Fund. That money is the excess taxes that they've collected over the years and haven't had to pay out. In 2020, taxes cover about 3/4 of the benefits that are paid to retirees. The trust fund covers the rest. If we are waiving the taxes for the last 4 months of the year, then the Social Security Administration is going to be collecting significantly less from paychecks than they projected at the beginning of the year. And that would force the government to withdraw more from the trust fund than it had intended. The trust fund is already being depleted. It's projected to be broke by 2029. If this new executive order were permanent, according to the Social Security chief actuary, the trust fund would be depleted in 2023, just 3 years from now. So this isn't good news for the Social Security system long term. So what should you do? If you're working and if your paycheck rises 6.2% because of the executive order, be careful. Add that money to your cash reserves because you're likely going to need to send it to the government early in the new year. Or, indirectly, your paycheck in the new year will be reduced by 12.4% so that your boss can collect the money out of your paycheck and send it to the government. Either way, you can expect a big pay cut in the new year because of the pay raise you're getting in this year. If you've got any questions on that, let us know. Give us a call here at 888-PLAN-RIC. My colleagues and I are happy to help you figure it all out. Let me shift over a little bit to the conversation about life insurance. We have to deal with ordinary, everyday aspects of our personal finance issues, and one of them is clearly life insurance. And there have been a lot of questions that have been raised about life insurance as a result of COVID-19. The first question that you might be asking is, will your insurance policy pay the death benefit if you die of COVID-19? And the answer is yes. as long as your policy has been in force for more than 2 years. The death benefits are not paid if you die by suicide during the first 2 years, or if there were any material facts that you falsified or didn't disclose on the application. But other than those exclusions, yes. If you die, regardless of why, including COVID, your policy will pay. And can you still buy life insurance during the pandemic? Yes. But you need to be aware that some life insurance companies have stopped selling certain kinds of policies, and they've made other policies more expensive. But in some cases, the requirements for getting a policy have been loosened. So yes, if you need life insurance, good, continue to go get it because you still can. If you traveled abroad during this pandemic, you can still buy a policy, but most insurers won't make it effective until you've been home and free of illness, typically for 14 days. It might vary company to company. And even if you've tested positive for COVID-19, or if you've been exposed to someone who has the virus, you can still qualify for the policy. But don't be surprised if your insurer delays the approval of your application. You don't have to meet in person to apply for a policy. You can do the whole thing over the phone or through email, but you will probably need a physical exam. The insurance company wants to evaluate your health, and they want to make sure that they're charging you the right amount of money for the policy, and even whether or not to sell one to you at all. So depending on how much insurance you're applying for and your gender and your age, the insurer might be satisfied with the information you put on the application. But in most cases, the insurer will require what's called a paramed exam. A nurse will come to your house and collect your fluids, blood and maybe urine, and they'll record your blood pressure, your height, and your weight. They might, in some cases, want more extensive tests, like a cardiac stress test. That's where you walk or jog on a treadmill while they monitor your heart. There are usually no costs to you for these exams or tests. Remember, you've got to answer all the questions on the application truthfully and completely. If you don't, you void the policy, and you could even be subject to arrest for insurance fraud. And by the way, if you do commit fraud, the policy will not pay the benefit. One other point, the insurance company is not going to test you for COVID-19. We're not aware of any company that does that. And if you've got questions, give us a call at 888-PLAN-RIC. We'll be happy to help you figure out if you need life insurance, and if so, how much and what kind of policy is best for you. 888-752-6742, online at rickedelman.com.
Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Shine on us all.
For more information on what you need to do now, go to rickedelman.com. That's rickedelman.com.
Hi, I'm Rick Edelman with a warning. Millions of people are buying stocks they think are low in price. Watch out. A lot of investors have no idea the risks they're taking. But you are holding steady, right? You haven't made a trade all year. That could be a problem too. With COVID on the scene, you might need more in cash than before. Maybe you need to reduce your market risk as well. Are you sure your portfolio is COVID ready? Call us at Edelman Financial Engines and let's review your investments and your entire financial situation and see if you're in good shape as this crisis continues. It's not the time to go it alone. Call us at 888-PLAN-RIC. Talk with one of my colleagues here at Edelman Financial Engines. We'll review your portfolio and make sure you're ready for what comes next. And we'll help you get through this crisis just like we've helped clients get through every crisis for the past 35 years. Call us at 888-PLAN-RIC. That's 888-PLAN-RIC. Online at ricedelman.com.
WKAL, more stimulating talk radio.
To take you. But first, stop by discovertheforest.org, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Radio 1450.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Portland, Oregon has seen its 100th consecutive night of rioting. Last night, police declared an unlawful assembly. 27 people arrested in the unrest in Portland last night. And it got heated during protests in Rochester, New York last night. Police deploying tear gas as the violence escalated. 3 police officers suffered injuries, including burns, and almost a dozen people were arrested. There have been nightly demonstrations in Rochester for the past few days over the police custody death of Daniel Prude. Colleges and universities around the country scrambling to set up coronavirus quarantine zones in dorms as well as off campus. It is a sweltering holiday weekend across the Southwest, including in California, where forecasters expect new high temperature records to be set. This is SRN News.
I know that on those tablets Mr. Moses brought down is the commandment to not covet. But I'll confess, my neighbor and his lawnmower is making it tough. He's got this stand-behind, ride-along space shuttle that covers probably 3 times more space than my trusty old lawn boy. So, when we have who mows the fastest races, which are completely fabricated in my head, he has some impressive advantages that I just don't have. And at our Faith and Family Mortgage team, we're blessed to have a pretty special advantage of our own, and one that could be a big deal for you. Our team is lucky to be an arm of a bigger company that is a direct lender, which means our company gets to use its own money and make its own decisions within its own walls, an advantage that often allows us to get you a better rate, saving you monthly and lifelong money on a refinance or new home purchase. We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Melville Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing.
I'm TJ Matthews with your official 1450
The current
WKAL weather bug
72
forecast for
degrees.
this afternoon. Breezy, sunny, high 75, west winds 5 to 10 with afternoon gusts to 25 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance of a shower with a partly cloudy low down to 52. Tomorrow, Sunday, mostly sunny, high middle 70s, light southwest winds. That's your latest official 1450 WKAL weather bug forecast. I'm TJ Matthews, 1450 WKAL, for stimulating talk radio.
If you are a small business owner, it is time to answer these questions. Is your website mobile friendly? Does it look modern and pop? Can it be found on the first page of Google? If you answer no to any of these questions, or worse, you don't have a website, it is time to call our friends at Thayer 2 Design. They'll work with you to customize a website to fit your needs and help you grow. Websites start as low as $400, and yes, you heard that right. A great looking website doesn't have to cost you thousands of dollars. Give them a call today at 315-875-7989 or visit them online at RomeNYWebDesign.com.
We are on air with Doug, Jen, and Victoria.
Ludacris is in the news. He's going to headline a Freedom Festival concert at Gitmo. Let's see here. There are how many War on Terror detainees that are still there? 79, I think, 80.
And all of them love Luda.
Of course they do.
Well, they don't get to go to the concert.
What's his real name?
Chris something.
Got it. Chris Ludaco. That's his name. From now on.
We are on air with Doug, Jen, and Victoria.
Weekday mornings 4 to 6 on 1450 WKAL.
Behind the Headlines Sunday on WKAL. Are you looking for some behind the headlines information, news you won't get anywhere else, not in the paper and not on TV? How about interesting information on people, places, and things in central New York? Then please join me, Rocco Garrow, for the best hour on radio. It's Behind the Headlines Sunday on WKAL, the news, talk, and sports authority in the Mohawk Valley.
United Way and the Ad Council.
Let's go to the phones here on the Rick Edelman Show. We've got Kevin on the line from Calvert County, Maryland. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I am well. How about yourself, sir?
Doing so well. Thank you so much. I appreciate your calling. How can I help you, sir?
Well, first off, I would like to thank you for your program over the years.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you, sir. How can I help?
My question is with regard to emergency funds, do you think there's anything Congress could do to help the average American save faster for an emergency fund? And I look at, how they allow us to tax defer 401ks, et cetera.
Right.
But if you look at what's going on in the world today and the stress test that's being placed on those of us that have emergency funds and those that don't, ours is approaching about 2 years, and it helps us sleep at night during this time. What could Congress do to help us, and what might their objections be to such a fund?
So, number one, your observation is correct. companies have a section of the tax law called Section 401k that allows them to let you set aside some of your paycheck for your retirement. And that's all well and good. Millions, tens of millions of Americans participate in those workplace savings plans. We're the biggest advice provider, in fact, to companies helping their employees save for retirement. The problem, though, is that that's a long-term benefit. That's something that'll help you decades from now in retirement. What about today if you run into an urgent financial crisis like a home repair or a car repair or a medical issue or what have you? So, yes, there is a movement afoot to allow employers to let people set aside money for a cash reserve account, similar to the way that they do in a 401k account. It would have to have a slightly different set of rules. For example, in a 401k, you get a tax deduction, and you also get a penalty if you withdraw the money prior to retirement. This account would have to perhaps eliminate the tax deduction, but more importantly, eliminate the penalty. The whole point of cash reserves is ready access to the money as needed on demand. So having an IRS penalty would, undo that. So that's one idea. And you're right. A lot of employers are beginning to look at this idea, and so are folks on Capitol Hill. Here's one of the big problems with that whole concept. A lot of folks who are not saving, a lot of folks who have no cash reserves, it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're uninformed or uneducated. They do know they need cash reserves. They do have a desire to build cash reserves. The problem is that they don't earn enough money relative to their expenses to be able to divert some of their paycheck into cash reserves. These are folks literally living paycheck to paycheck. Between a combination of their low incomes and their high expenses, they often have family issues. They're providing care to an elder or to a child with special needs. They may be a single income household, maybe a single parent raising children. There may be where they're not earning an awful lot of money. And if you compare income growth over the last 20 years to the costs of living, such as food, transportation, medicine, rent, the costs of all of these things have risen faster than incomes in America. So in real economic terms, people are struggling. Even though the minimum wage has risen periodically over the decades, it has not risen as fast as the overall cost of living. So Congress could mandate a higher minimum wage. This is a huge political debate, as you know, because many in the liberal camp say we need to raise the minimum wage. But many on the conservative camp say if you raise the minimum wage, small businesses are going to have to fire workers because they're not going to be able to afford to pay those higher wages. So you can either have the wage you've got or no wage at all. And so this is why it's a very big political debate and why it's been so difficult to get any movement on this. You also have more extreme ideas, such as were proposed by Andrew Yang when he was in the primary process on the Democratic side, offering what's called a universal basic income, just like Congress send every American household $1,000, $1,000 a month or $1,000 a year or whatever, and let that be a cash reserves piggy bank available to people. Well, you can imagine the political challenge of getting that enacted, but there are opportunities, there are ideas. The problem is many people believe that it is up to the individual to figure this out, as opposed to allowing individuals to be dependent on the government figuring it out for them.
Well, it seems like they've left it to the government for the most part.
At the moment, everyone is going to have their own take on all of the above. And thank goodness we have periodic elections to refresh the people in power, or at least give us the opportunity to refresh the people in power as social sentiment changes on all of these issues.
Well, I appreciate you addressing this with me today, and please keep up the good work for us.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate your phone call. That was Kevin in Calvert County, Maryland, here on the Rick Edelman Show. And you can do what Kevin did and call us here at 888-PLAN-RICK. That's 888-752-6742, online at ricedelman.com. Let's take another telephone call here on the Rick Edelman Show off to West Springfield, Massachusetts. Bob is standing by. Hi, Bob. Welcome to the program.
Yes. What I was thinking about doing is attempt to set some type of passive fund financial plan for my grandson, 30 years old. I was worried, not so much now because his parents are taking care of him, but 30 years down the road. And I was wondering if you could point me to a vehicle I could use to set up some sort of program at this point so it could accumulate over the years.
Sure. Oh, that's wonderful that you're looking to do that. Let me ask you, do you have other grandchildren?
I have lots of grandchildren, but this one is in special need.
Oh, so this is a special needs child?
Well, that type of thing, yes.
Got it. Will this grandson be able to live independently?
Yes, I believe so.
And will he be able to earn an income?
Right now he's living with his parents.
Got it. And will he be able to manage his own money, do you suppose, or will he need someone to help him do that?
I think he will need assistance.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm really excited that you're looking out for your grandson in this fashion, and it is a very sad situation for the family, to, of course, to have to struggle with. And it's incredibly common. 1 in 9 U.S. households has a special needs member of the family, so it is a very common situation. Here's the best way to handle it. When you have a special needs child in the family, someone who may not be able to live independently, or someone who may not be able to earn an income, or even if they do, they may not be able to effectively manage money and they could squander it or lose it or be defrauded easily or what have you, the solution is the following. It is called a special needs trust. This is a legal vehicle that is specifically created for the purpose of helping provide financially for a special needs child. Because at the moment, as you've pointed out, he's fine from a care perspective because he has his parents there for him. The problem, of course, is that his life expectancy is going to exceed that of his parents, simply by the fact that he's their child. Odds are pretty good he'll survive them. So what happens to him when his parents are no longer able to provide care for him the way they are now? The Special Needs Trust can be a terrific solution. It's very simple in how it works. You create the trust. You go to an estate attorney who can do this for you. There are a number of nonprofit organizations such as ARC, A-R-C, that will help you create the trust documents at little to no cost. You can go to thearc.org to learn more about the local chapter of ARC where you live. And once you create this trust, you contribute money to it. You contribute as much or as little as you want. You can make multiple contributions over time. Lots of people, in fact, can contribute to the trust. And it's really simple in how it works. You name the trustee. Typically, you would name one of the parents of the child, but it could be anybody in the family or any trusted individual to serve as the trustee. And the money will get invested in accordance with the trust's rules, and the money will be used for the benefit of the child. And here's the neat thing. When you use the Special Needs Trust properly, the distribution of money from the trust for the benefit of the child won't interfere with money the child might be receiving from social services agencies, because you don't want to nullify the benefits that the child is getting there, and the Special Needs Trust works in conjunction with that as opposed to in conflict with that. And it's really that simple. So I would encourage you to talk with the parents. They may have, in fact, already established a Special Needs Trust, and you don't want to bother creating a new one if they've already got one. If they haven't created one, then talk with them about the idea of creating one so that you can work together with them, with an attorney or an organization such as ARC, to get that trust created and then go about the process of working with an investment advisor for the investments that trust will be invested in. And it's really that simple. The organization used to stand for the Association of Retired Citizens, and it now goes by ARC. The web address is thearc.org, THEARC.org.
Well, that's, I think, the vehicle. That's just the area I'm looking for, and I appreciate you're able to put me in the right direction. I appreciate that very much.
Well, you're very welcome, Bob, and I wish you and the family the best.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. That was Bob in West Springfield, Massachusetts. You can do what he did. If you're facing a conundrum, a challenge in your family, give us a call. We may have ideas and solutions you may not have considered, and we're happy to help. 888 752-6742, online at ricedelman.com.
Can never surrender, and if your Bible leads you home, you can never surrender.
More with the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Truth About Your Future, coming up on The Rick Edelman Show.
With us for sports, I'm Patrick Cross. Top seed Novak Djokovic stayed perfect for 2020 and advanced to the fourth round of the U.S. Open with a straight sets win. He beat Germany's Jan-Lennard Struff 6-3, 6-3, 6-1 in an hour and 43 minutes. Djokovic has won his last 29 matches and is 26-0 this season. TCU and SMU have postponed their September 11th matchup in Fort Worth after the Horned Frogs said that some players and support staff tested positive for COVID-19. Top 25 action doesn't start until next weekend, but there is college football action today, including SMU at Texas State and Arkansas State at Memphis. In the American League Friday, New York and Baltimore split. The Yankees won the first game 6-5, the Orioles the second 6-3. Minnesota took two from Detroit, 2-0 and 3-2. Toronto and Boston split a doubleheader. Toronto won the first game 8-7, dropped the second 3-2. It was Chicago 7-4 for Kansas City, Los Angeles 6, Houston 5, Seattle 6, Texas 3. This is SRN Sports. In the National League, Cincinnati defeated Pittsburgh 4-2. The Pirates came back to win the second game 4-3. Atlanta and Washington split. The Braves won the first game 7-1. The Nationals the second 10-9. Elsewhere, it was Philadelphia 5, New York 3, Chicago 4-1 over St. Louis, Los Angeles 10, Colorado 6, and Arizona 6, San Francisco 5. Interleague action, Tampa Bay 5, Miami 4, Milwaukee 7-1 over Cleveland, and San Diego blanked Oakland 7-0. Miami used a 40-13 fourth quarter in the NBA playoffs to defeat Milwaukee 115-100. The Heat with a commanding 3-0 lead in their second-round series. Houston won the opener of their second-round series with a 112-97 victory over the LA Lakers. In the NHL, in a pair of Game 7s Friday, it was Dallas in overtime over Colorado 5-4, Vegas 3, Vancouver 0. John Rahm and Dustin Johnson share the first-round lead after one round of the PGA's Tour Championship. With SRN Sports, I'm Patrick Voss.
You know all about radio. FM means clean, clear, stereo sound. But don't go over the hill. AM, great. Long distance reception. But not known for high fidelity. Something's changed. AM radio now has FM's best qualities because of AMAX. New technology delivering full fidelity, less noise, maximum clarity stereo sound. AMAX. Look for it when you shop for your next radio or stereo tuner. AMAX. The best sound available on AM.
Rome Community Theater is celebrating its 65th season, including a musical, dramas, comedies, and one-act plays. For young actors who would like to be involved in the theater, there's a free program, The Talent Team, that performs cabarets, Christmas show, and performances around the community. RCT is always looking for volunteers to work in the different areas of the theater. For information and tickets, go to our website, romecommunitytheater.org. At RCT, we're glad that WKAL cares.
And the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Rick Edelman Show. There's a study recently released from the National Academy of Sciences. Researchers analyzed 1.8 million hospital birth records in Florida from 1992 through 2015. And what they discovered is that black newborns are more likely to survive childbirth when they are cared for by black doctors. In the hospital, according to the study, black babies die 3 times more often than white babies. But when black doctors cared for black babies, the mortality rate was cut in half. I'll let you decide why that is. And there was a recent study done of the top aides to U.S. senators. The top aides are defined as the chief of staff, the legislative director, and the communications director. And they discovered that only 11% of these top aides are people of color, compared with 40% of the population. And 72 senators, this is out of 100, do not employ a single person of color as a top aide. Only 4 U.S. senators have more than one. I'll let you decide what all that means. Let's go to the phones here on the Rick Edelman Show, off to Silver Spring, Maryland. We got Bob standing by. Welcome to the show, Bob. How are you?
Hi, Rick. I'm doing fine.
How can I help you?
I heard you talk about checking the turnover rate when purchasing shares in a fund.
Mm-hmm.
I found a fund to invest in the sector that I'm looking for, but the turnover rate is high. My question relates to if and when I purchase into this fund, will the turnover rate be based on the purchase date or calendar date?
Calendar date. Let me elaborate on that, but before I do, let me ask you this. What is the sector you're talking about here?
The sector that I'm looking for is electric vehicles and batteries.
And this is a mutual fund that is specializing in that sector?
Yes.
Okay. You might want to compare alternative funds in that sector to see if the fund you're looking at, if its turnover rate is in line with what others are doing, or if your fund has excessive turnover compared to competitors. Very often, certain sectors have a trend that is unique to the sector, meaning some funds like technology stocks tend to have higher turnover than utility stocks, for example. So a high turnover fund in one category might be normal, whereas in a different category it might be abnormal. So just compare the fund you're looking at to other funds that compete with it to make sure that the fund you're looking at is in line with what is normal for that sector. Now, having said all that, it's important that we all understand what we're talking about here regarding turnover, and your question is really important about how the mutual fund calculates it. Turnover refers to the frequency with which the fund manager buys and sells stocks within the fund. A turnover rate of 1 means that they're selling all the holdings on an annual basis. Turnover rate of 1/2 means that they're selling half the funds annually. And a turnover rate of 2 means that they're selling all the stocks in the fund an average of every 6 months. The higher the turnover rate, the more frequently that they're buying and selling, and that does 2 things to you. Number 1, the more often they buy and sell, the more brokerage expenses they're incurring, the higher the total costs of owning the fund. The expense ratio will go up as the turnover goes up because of the costs of doing all that trading. Second, every time the fund manager sells a stock, that triggers a tax liability. On the theory, at least, that they're selling the stock for a profit. So that triggers a tax liability. Now, here's the interesting thing, as you noted. The mutual fund is keeping records of its turnover experience for the calendar year. So they're taking a look starting January 1, and they're looking at all of the turnover that they're doing throughout the year. And by December 31, they have to distribute to the shareholders what's called a capital gain distribution, which is reflective of all of the profits that they've realized during the year as a result of their trading. So when they issue that capital gain distribution, they're doing it to all shareholders equally who own the fund as of the record date of the distribution. So whether you bought the fund on January 1 or you bought the fund on December 12th, the day before they do the distribution, you're going to get hit with the same capital gains distribution, which means, in an ironic way, people who buy a mutual fund late in the year, after the fund has made profits and after the fund has triggered a lot of turnover and capital gains, you didn't enjoy those profits, you didn't enjoy all of that benefit, but you're going to get hit with a capital gains distribution anyway, forcing you to pay taxes essentially on profits you didn't earn. This is why a lot of pundits in the financial services sector, at the end of every year, starting around November, and here's my prediction for you, you're going to see these news articles in a couple of months because it happens every single year. You're going to start to see articles telling people, don't buy mutual funds, wait until after the distribution to avoid this problem, to avoid the tax liability. You're going to see that advice, I assure you, because you see it every single year, and I'm going to tell you what I tell folks every single year. Ignore that. It's stupid advice. And there are 2 reasons for this. Number 1, if you refuse to invest merely because of this situation, you're going to miss out on any profits the fund might earn between now and then. you're letting the tax tail wag the money dog. You're not really making a sound financial decision. You're trying to make a short-term tax decision, which is not the whole point of investing. So that's the first problem. Second problem, even though you're going to incur this capital gain distribution and therefore the tax associated with it, remember that serves to increase your cost basis, which means when you later sell the fund in the future, the tax at that time will be less because you've essentially prepaid the tax. In other words, it's not going to cost you money. It's just going to advance the tax liability sooner than it otherwise would be. But in the long run, it turns out to be a wash. So it's not a big deal. And finally, if you're investing in an IRA, this doesn't matter at all because you don't pay taxes, regardless of the capital gain distributions on a mutual fund. If the fund is held in the IRA, you only pay the taxes when you actually withdraw the money from the IRA. You can buy and sell stocks and mutual funds and shares. You can do whatever you want as long as the money stays in the account. There's no tax liability. So you're right. This will hit you on a calendar basis, not your buy date, but in the long run, so what?
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Glad I was able to answer the question for you. That was Bob calling from Silver Spring, Maryland, here on The Rick Edelman Show, and you can do the same. 888-PLAN-RICK is our telephone number. Anytime during the week, in fact. Don't worry about having to get to me on the program. My colleagues here at Edelman Financial Engines can give you answers as good as me, and I hate to say it, but a lot of times even better. 888-752-6742 for any question you've got about your investments or other aspects of your personal finances. You can also visit us online at rickedelman.com. Well, thanks for joining me on the program this week. It's been a pleasure to be with you this happy holiday Labor Day weekend. If you are at all concerned or even just frankly confused about what is going on and the long-term implications of COVID-19, you can download my special report, COVID-19 and the Long-Term Financial Impact, by going to rickedelman.com. That's ricedelman.com. And you can download the report for free. Have a great holiday. See you next week.
Whenever you call me, I'll be there. Whenever you want me, I'll be there. Whenever you need me, I'll be there. I'll be around.
Get the truth about money every weekend on The Rick Edelman Show.
All right, guys, we're ready for our four-season sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh, no. We'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh, no, wait. A family hub.
Yeah! No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons Sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to hear more about these great offers from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-848-6333. That's 800-848-6333.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252.
WKAL.
This is AM 1450 WKAL, Rome, New York.
The time is 2 o'clock.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump declaring war on far-left anti-American training being carried out by some federal agencies.
The OMB director sent a letter Friday to executive branch agencies directing them to identify spending related to any training on critical race theory, white privilege, or any other material that teaches or suggests that the U.S. or any race or ethnicity is inherently racist or evil. I'm Julie Walker.
No end in sight to the rioting in Portland, Oregon. Last night, the city saw its 100th straight night of violence, with police arresting 27 people. Oregon State Police troopers assisted local police in subduing the rioters. President Trump's offer of federal help has been repeatedly rebuffed by the city's Democrat mayor, who is a fierce Trump critic. And one of Western New York State's major cities witnessing another night of unrest in its streets.
Friday saw a third night of violence in Rochester, New York, as demonstrators lashed out against law enforcement for the death of Daniel Prude while in police custody. Rioters set off what appeared to be fireworks near police officers, 3 suffering injuries, including burns. There have been nearly a dozen arrests so far. Social media video and photos showed a crowd of nearly 1,000 near a downtown restaurant. The rioters reportedly smashed some of that restaurant's glasses and plates. Ken Lorman reporting.
4 people have died in a row house fire in Philadelphia. Crews responding to the blaze in the city's Kensington neighborhood around 8 this morning. Philadelphia's fire commissioner calling it a very difficult morning. The heat wave that's holding the Southwest in its grip has prompted California Governor Gavin Newsom to declare a state of emergency. It allows power plants to operate beyond normal limits throughout the long holiday weekend as air conditioners work overtime. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-555-2085 or visit termprovider.com. termprovider.com.
A call for the Kremlin to come clean on the apparent poisoning of a leading Russian opposition figure. Alexei Navalny remains hospitalized in Germany, where doctors say it does appear that he was fed poison. UN Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says the international community is demanding answers.
NATO allies agree that Russia now has serious questions it must answer. The Russian government must fully cooperate with the organization for the prohibition of chemical weapons on an impartial international investigation.
It is not the first time that Navalny, a fierce critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin, has been poisoned. Australian police in Victoria State have made several arrests among a crowd of roughly 300 people protesting the coronavirus lockdown in Melbourne as Australia's COVID-19 death toll hit 748. News and analysis at townhall.com. Facebook has taken down a controversial photo montage that includes a Georgia GOP congressional contender.
The post features congressional candidate Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has courted controversy with her support of QAnon far-right conspiracy theories and inflammatory remarks about 2 Muslim congresswomen. Democrats Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are pictured in the post, as is New York's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Facebook says the post, with Greene holding a rifle at the congresswomen's images, violates its policy against inciting violence. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has called on her GOP counterpart to condemn this threat of violence. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Remain vigilant. That's President Trump's advice regarding the coronavirus over this long holiday weekend. More on these stories at townhall.com.
I'm TJ Matthews with your official 1450 WKAL weather bug forecast for this afternoon. Breezy, sunny, high 75, west winds 5 to 10 with afternoon gusts to 25 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance of a shower with a partly cloudy low down to 52. Tomorrow, Sunday, mostly sunny, high middle 70s, light southwest winds. That's your latest official 1450 WKAL weather bug forecast. I'm TJ Matthews, 1450 WKAL, for stimulating talk radio.
You know all about radio. FM means clean, clear, stereo sound. But don't go over the hill. AM, great, long distance reception. But not known for high fidelity. Something's changed. AM radio now has FM's best qualities because of AMAX. New technology delivering full fidelity, less noise, maximum clarity stereo sound. AMAX. Look for it when you shop for your next radio or stereo tuner. AMAX. The best sound available on AM.
WKAL.
Hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, you know, all that jazz. Everything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo, that's my phone number. If you want to talk high-tech, I'd love to talk high-tech with you. 888-827-5536. That's toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, well, you know the drill. Maybe you don't know the drill. You can Skype me. Skype out, we'll do it. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Is technology scary? I've been wondering this. We have a lot of movies about technology gone wild, you know, Terminator. There's a lot of movies about computers, you know, war games, and computers just kind of, you know, gaining. I think the thing that scares us most is that, like, they'll gain sentience. They'll be like aware. That's scary, I guess. HAL 9000 seemed nice at the time. Seemed like a nice computer at the time. Didn't seem like a bad guy. Kind of helpful. Could play a really good game of chess. And then it locked Dave out of the pod bay door, man. That's not cool, man. Not okay. Technology, I think, is neutral. I don't know. Is it? What do you think? I think it's neutral. I think it's, I think some people would argue, oh, no, technology is always good. And yeah, when it comes to things like, I don't know, zippers, those are good. Light bulbs, those are good. Although, I guess, you know, you can always, there's always the counter argument. There's a counter argument on zippers I won't go into, but there are some gentlemen who prefer not to wear zippers. There's also the issue of light. You know, we're not, our biology's not used to light between sundown and sunrise, and so, you know, all this light, especially the blue kind, blue light, really bad. I mean, there's that. You could argue that there's some technology that seems pretty bad on the face of it, maybe the atom bomb. But there's still an argument there. I think it's basically neutral. It's what we do with it, right? And I was thinking about this morning in the shower, which is my favorite technology. Thank you, Archimedes or whoever, for figuring that one out. Nice job. We needed that. That was a good catch, good find. Shower, bath. Actually, I've been reading a great book called Clean about the history of bathing. He talks about the Middle Ages. He said some historians call it 1,000 years without a bath. It's a fascinating book. You know, our attitude toward cleanliness has shifted back and forth. Right now, we're all about being clean. Wash your hands, 20 seconds, right? Isn't that weird? We're learning how to wash our hands like we didn't know. Like you have to have videos, and new Apple Watch coming out sometime any minute now, maybe even this week. It's got a little hand washing routine in it. Ah, I see you're washing your hands. Would you like some help? If you ask your Amazon Echo to play the hand washing song, it'll sing a song for 20 seconds. A really terrible song that makes you want to wash your hands faster. So I think medical technology, that's probably good, right? Well, yeah. I think it's what we do with it. And that's one of the things that has made my career, really. It's always been the principle behind what I do. And I've been doing this now since the 70s. Wow. Long time. Which is, I like technology. I love technology. I like to play with it, right? But I also think it's important to understand it and to use it intelligently, that kind of thing. And I don't think I think if you don't understand it, then there's a tendency to say, "Oh, it's magic." It's magic. That's probably not a good approach. It isn't magic. It's science. Technology, if you really think about it, is scientific theory made whole, made real, which is really cool. I'll give you a good example. The theory of relativity. Now, you would think, well, that's blue sky. There's nothing they can do with that, right? We wouldn't have GPS if it weren't for the theory of relativity. GPS satellites have to account for the fact, wow, that they're moving and that they have to adjust for the fact that they're at a different gravitational plane. It's all sorts of interesting things we wouldn't be able to do without even stuff that seems so blue sky. So technology wouldn't exist without a deep scientific understanding. And that's the thing. If you're scared of technology, well, I understand. I don't blame you, I guess, but surely we can figure it out together. So I guess that's kind of my job, is so to help you understand it, help you use it, most importantly, because you know what, people are going to use it against us if we don't learn how to use it ourselves. So it's good to understand it. It is being used by governments and marketers in all sorts of ways that we may not approve of. So it's important to understand that. That's what we talk about. And then it's also, I have to admit it, the reason I got into it, it's the toy store. We're waiting to hear from Apple. There's strong rumors now. There'll be a new iPad Air, which will be a lot more like the iPad Pro, but I guess a lower cost. So that's good. They have a Type-C connector instead of a Lightning port. It'll have those squared edges that the iPad Pro has. I don't know what else. These are all rumors, so we, take it with a grain of salt. New Apple Watches, plural. There's a new iOS coming. And a new WatchOS. Got a new public beta of the iOS right after the developer beta came out. Beta 7. Got that yesterday. Yesterday. So I'm thinking that's probably the signal that we're about to get the new iOS. iOS 14, iPadOS 14, WatchOS 7. Because it's half size, so it's only half the numbers. And if we're going to get that, I have a feeling Apple's announcement is going to be this week. That's just my feeling. I have a feeling right here. There have been rumors that it might be Tuesday, September 8th. So that'll be interesting. I'll keep you up to date on that. Also this week, the new Microsoft It's Not a Phone comes out. The Duo comes out September 10th. That'll be interesting. Samsung Galaxy Fold, they had their big event. They said, yes, you'll be able to get it September 18th. It's that silly season. And this, I think now more than ever, we need to talk about technology, because some of this stuff, that Galaxy Fold 2 is $2,000. The Duo is $1,400. New iPhone's coming, but probably not till October, I'm going to guess. Those will be, what, $1,000, $1,200? Who knows? Apple really opened the door to very expensive stuff. So you can see it's all headed our way. And that's my job here, is to help you, know what to get and what not to get. help you figure it all out. 8888 Ask Leo. I'd like to be your guide, if you don't mind. 888-827-5536. When I talk about stuff, it will be written as as it is spoken, so it shall be written by our scribe, James DeRuvo, who's scribbling as I speak, writing this down even as I speak, and putting it up on the website, techguylabs.com. And that's really so that you don't have to write it down or pay attention. You could just let this show wash over you. Let it wash over you. And then at some later date, if you say, he said something, I think I want to know what that was, you can go to the website. It'll all be there. And it's free. techguylabs.com. Let's open the lines. Our phone angel, Kim Schaffer's ready. She's ready for your call. Give us a ring. 8888 Ask Leo. The University of Utah in the news. Our sponsor, iDrive. The University of Utah just handed over $500,000 in ransom payments. Ransomware. Because, why? The bad guys had private student and employee data. And they didn't want that to be released. So, I can't help you not get ransomware, but I can help you protect your data in case you do with iDrive. The best protection against ransomware is to have a reliable backup of your data, so you don't have to pay $500,000 to some I want to say bad things about ransomware hackers. Some punk in Belarus or somewhere. You shouldn't be giving them money. You should have iDrive because you don't have to give them much money. Less than $6 a month for 5 terabytes of storage for all your stuff. PCs, Macs, iOS, Android, servers, everything you've got. Laptops. iDrive is the best. And that's not just me. PC Magazine has made them their editor's choice 6 years in a row. The best cloud backup solution for everyone, consumers and businesses. Once you have a cloud backup with iDrive, you laugh at ransomware. You just roll your data back in a case of attack. iDrive, it's the easiest, most secure cloud backup solution. And right now, we're going to make it better. 90% off, 90 for the first year if you go to iDrive.com and use my name, Leo. I want to make it so you have no excuse. You must do this. iDrive.com. Use my name, Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Are you a survivor of sexual abuse while in the Boy Scouts? You may be entitled to compensation, no matter how long ago the abuse happened. But your time to file a claim is limited. Call 800-953-3314. That's 800-953-3314 for more information. As a result of thousands of victims filing sexual abuse claims, the Boy Scouts have filed for bankruptcy protection, and the bankruptcy court has set November 16, 2020 as the deadline for abuse survivors to file a claim. As a result of this bankruptcy, a victims' compensation fund is being set up that may be worth over $1.5 billion. Childhood sexual abuse takes numerous forms, including forcible rape, exposing oneself to a child, or showing her or him pornographic images, or viewing or photographing a child in a sexual context. If you are a survivor of sexual abuse while in the Boy Scouts, you may be entitled to compensation. Call 800-953-3314. That's 800-953-3314 for more information. Your call is completely confidential. Sponsored by Mark J. Byrne and Partners, LLC.
America Tonight.
A baby is born too soon. I'm working with the March of Dimes to prevent premature birth, the leading cause of newborn deaths. Every newborn deserves a healthy life. Join with me and the March of Dimes. Visit marchofdimes.org.
Motorcycle riding season is in full swing, and there are more motorcycles on the road than ever before. Crashes involving motorcycles are often the result of a motorist failing to yield the right-of-way, or caused by a motorist who is distracted. And motorcycle riders are vulnerable and more exposed. So for them, crashes can result in serious injury or even death. Drivers and riders, we're all in this together. Please, be smart and pay attention to your driving. Share the road and watch for motorcycles.
3, 2, 1.
Husbands think they're more helpful than they actually are.
Oh my God! And the worst is when they actually do something, they have to tell you about it. Like, you know what I just did? I just took out the trash. Yeah. You know what I just did? Cooked meals your entire life.
44% of husbands say that they evenly split the household chores with their wives. Only 26% of the wives are the same.
Right, that's a big discrepancy on what half means. We are on air with Doug, Jen, and Victoria.
Weekday mornings 4 to 6 on 1450 WKAL.
Hey, this is Mark McDougald. Check out America's fastest growing real estate finance show, Life as You Own It, Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. right here on WKAL 1450.
Unbreakable, they alive, damn it. It's a miracle. Unbreakable, they alive, damn it. With females are strong and unbreakable.
Dang it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, and there she is, the unbreakable Kimmy Schaffer, our phone angel. Kimmy, don't take no Schaffer. Hello, Kimmy.
Hello. How are you doing?
I say it's going to be hot here.
Yeah.
I believe it's going to reach into the 90s today.
Yeah. Hundreds in some places. They're saying like 109 in Napa.
Well, we have Sue is listening in Henderson, and it's 116. So.
Oh, thank you. I'm good. I'm good with 90, I guess.
Does the local news still do that where they go out and they fry an egg on the sidewalk? Do they still do that?
I haven't seen that in a while.
That was when I was a kid. They would, it's so hot you could fry an egg on the sidewalk. Why would you want to do that?
Just to show people how hot it is.
Okay.
It's a good example, I guess.
Yeah.
I've never tried it myself. Have you?
No, I don't. Even if I could, why would I want to?
I don't know.
There's a whole cookbook on how to cook with a heat from your car engine.
Yeah.
I think they want to. I think they also now is there. I can't remember anyway. But you could wrap up stuff in tinfoil, put it in your car engine, cook it up. It'd be nice when you get to the end of your trip. Now,
I didn't think you were supposed to actually drive with it.
Well, that's how you get it hot.
Oh, I thought you just turned it on and let it run.
Oh, no. You should do it on a trip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They duct tape it down.
Now they make Scooter X says in our chat room. Now they make reporters stand by the bank where the digital clock sign says its temperature. Look how hot it is. That's probably true. They're young people today. No initiative. Fry something on the sidewalk.
I don't know. I see a lot of them out there standing in hurricanes, which I think is pretty ridiculous.
That's always silly. That always is silly. And I felt bad.
Inside.
My good friend Erica Hill used to work with at Tech TV. She somehow seems to get the standing in Times Square assignment on CNN all the time. And I feel bad for her.
What, on New Year's Eve?
No, all the time.
Oh, all the time.
Like that was, look how empty Times Square, at least in the early days of quarantine. Look how empty Times Square is. I thought, get inside. What are you doing out there, girl? Get inside. It's not safe out there. All right, that's enough of me. Enough about me. Let's talk about you.
Okay.
Who do you have? Who do you have for me?
Cameron's in Lafayette, line 1. Looking to start up a new career, it looks like.
Cameron is? Oh, thank you, Kim. Hi, Cameron. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. It's great to talk to you.
Nice to
long
talk
time,
to you.
first time.
Thank you.
I've been listening to you since I was 16, and my first car only had AM.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's kept me alive. That AM button. Thank goodness. Did you have a button for the tech guy?
I do now.
It's called the Amazon Echo. So what can I do for you?
Well, I've spent the last 15 years in office administration and clerical, and now I'm looking for some new work, and I wanted to break into IT. I've got a bunch of friends that I've talked to kind of do a little surface research on certifications, but I'd love to know which ones you think would be good for me to get into entry-level support.
Yeah, and so that's the first thing is what part of IT do you want to work in? IT is a very broad term, and it's everything from setting up networks, sysadmins, security, But you said one part of it, which is actually an important part, probably the part you see the most when you're working, which is the support guy, the IT support person. Do you want to be somebody in an office, or do you want to be on the phone? What kind of thing do you want to do?
Either. I mean, of course, with the circumstances, I would like to have an option of some remote work. But the work that I've done, there's always been an element of call Cameron to fix that, fill in the blank.
So you're already halfway there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I think for this, the basic one, is the A+ cert. That's from CompTIA, COMPTIA. And so the reason these certs exist, everybody knows, every IT person knows that it really isn't a good measure of how good an IT person you'll be. But you don't have any experience. 5 years experience would be the best thing, but how do you get the first 5 years? They have these tests, and you pass the test, and you show at least that you have certain knowledge. Although I have to say, often the knowledge that you learn for some of these tests is either outmoded or you'll never use it. Nevertheless, it's an imperfect system, but it's all we got. And then if you're looking for an entry-level job, they'll often be looking at, well, do you have some certs? And the key is to get the certification as I said, in the area that you want to work in. For support, the basic cert is A+, the A+ cert. And it's it's a base level certification. I would say the ability to take that test and pass it is a great start. There are several ways you can learn the content. There are certainly, nowadays everything's on YouTube. There are certainly plenty of online videos that you can use for free. You can go online to Amazon, and there'll be CompTIA books, manuals. Those you want, because at least those will give you an idea of what the questions are going to be. In fact, practice tests are really great, as with any tests. I don't know if when you were in school, if you took the SATs or any of those achievement tests. That's how you got into college.
Yeah, I was able to go to, remember Barnes & Noble?
Yeah.
And get some practice
you get books. Yeah. So similar to that. They say you can't study for the SATs. You can definitely study for the A+, because it's all factual. It's not, if a car is leaving the station at the 5:33 and traveling at 25, it's none of that stuff. It's all very factual stuff that you need. And some of it is oddball, which is why you really want to do it. Now, once you get the A+, you might well want to take a couple of others, because of course, if you have 2 or 3 certs, a future prospective employee is going to say, "Oh, I like this. I like this." So basic computer support is A+. CompTIA folks have a lot of other certifications besides A+. You might look at those. There's Network Plus for networking. There's Security Plus for security. There's infrastructure. There's, cloud. Maybe, it just depends what you want to do, right? I mean, it's a broad field. I have to say, it's also a really good field right now. The economy is tanking in so many ways, but IT, especially now, the ability to keep the servers running and the networks going is super important. So I think this is a great field to get into right now. So you could get books at the bookstore. You can watch videos online. There's also schools. I don't usually recommend the technical schools. They tend to be very expensive. But there are online technical schools. We have a sponsor, itpro.tv, that's very good. That is a little less expensive. And maybe it just really depends how you learn. If you need to have engagement, that kind of thing, I'd look at those. But boy, good luck, because that's a great field.
If you are a small business owner, it is time to answer these questions. Is your website mobile friendly? Does it look modern and pop? Can it be found on the first page of Google? If you answer no to any of these questions, or worse, you don't have a website, it is time to call our friends at Thayer 2 Design. They'll work with you to customize a website to fit your needs and help you grow. Websites start as low as $400, and yes, you heard that right. A great looking website doesn't have to cost you thousands of dollars. Give them a call today at 315-875-7989 or visit them online at RomeNYWebDesign.com.
Rome Community Theater is celebrating its 65th season, including a musical, dramas, comedies, and one-act plays. For young actors who would like to be involved in the theater, there's a free program, The Talent Team, that performs cabarets, Christmas show, and performances around the community. RCT is always looking for volunteers to work in the different areas of the theater. For information and tickets, go to our website, romecommunitytheater.org. At RCT, we're glad that WKAL cares.
With SRN News, I'm Ron DeRockstra. The Republican Party taking aim at the Southern Poverty Law Center that has made life difficult for many Christian ministries over the years. The RNC is condemning the liberal group, which regularly designates organizations such as Focus on the Family and the Family Research Council as hate groups. Another night of violence in Portland, Oregon and Rochester, New York. Police clashing with demonstrators who threw rocks, bottles, and other debris at cops. Nearly 36 arrests were made. A far-right protesters clashing with police in the English port city of Dover, where thousands of migrants have arrived in recent months after crossing the channel in small boats. Dozens of anti-immigrant demonstrators, some wearing Union Jack face masks, blocked the main road Saturday singing Rule Britannia as they marched in the middle of the road. This is SRN News.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're